In this video, we're going to take a look at how to use reattach command with our sketch features. Reattach becomes available when we're inside our sketch task environment, so we do need to have a sketch feature to start with. I can jump into create a sketch, select one of the datum planes that are available. Show principal planes makes that pretty easy. I just have a datum coordinate system feature in here, so I can select, say, the right plane. Once I'm inside my sketch environment, I have a home tab that changes with the environment. So now I'm presented with those sketch tools. One area here with the finish flag is a sort of sketch setup group. And to allow myself to be able to select the reattach tool, I need to make that visible. So we have these down arrows in all these groups where we can turn on and off the visibility of tools we want to use. So I'm going to go ahead and check on reattach. That becomes available in this group, and then I can select it. Inside the Reattach Sketch dialog, I'm presented with a lot of the same options that I am with Create Sketch. So I'm basically jumping back into creating a new sketch. This will allow me to reposition my sketch. You'll notice that I have an additional option in this dialog called New Plane, or Plane Method. Initially, when we're setting up our sketch, we're just using the inferred method. That just allows me to, say, reselect a datum plane. So instead of the XY plane that I had selected initially, maybe I go with YZ this time. I can reposition the horizontal reference or vertical reference, or reselect a origin method via point selection. Once I click OK, it reorients me on that new datum plane selection. I have my sketch positioned in a different spot. If I do want to use, say, the new plane method, I can jump back into reattach. This new plane method will allow me to create a new datum plane on the fly. It'll exist in this sketch feature and be the sketch plane that I'm using. So with new plane selected for plane method, I do, on this specify plane selection, I need to change my pull down for selection here from, say, through object. So it's remembering the last selection that I made. And I want to change this to inferred so that I can select whatever I want. So now I'm selecting something new. It's got the red asterisk there. It's telling me to select something new. I'm going to put it back on this YZ plane, but I want it to be offset of that plane. And so I can use this offset method to pull that datum plane and offset that datum plane a little bit. You'll notice the alert that I get. So depending on how my horizontal reference was selected before, I may need to reposition that. So the horizontal reference direction is currently normal to my currently selected sketch plane. So I need to reposition that. And I can reposition that by selecting specify vector under sketch orientation, reselect, say, the y-axis instead, and I have a better horizontal orientation. So once that's satisfied, my OK becomes available, and I can click OK, and I'm now in my new sketch environment. If I rotate away from normal to my sketch, I can see I'm not on my origin datum plane. I'm on some new sketch plane that I've created. Reattaching sketch even works if I have already added sketch objects to that feature. For example, in this part, I have a extruded boss that's united to this box, but let's say it's on the wrong side of my part. I don't have to delete this and then reapply it to the other side. What I can do is jump into the sketch that controls this boss and reattach that sketch to the other side. If I right click on my extrude, I can edit the sketch of the extrude. And while in this environment, I can use that reattach tool to select the other side of the box. Now, I do need to pay attention to the orientation here. You'll notice that my X, Y, and Z is a little bit different. I'm probably going to put those curves somewhere else relative to that XYZ because of the dimensions I was using in the previous sketch. So I could delete the dimensions and then reposition that and then add some dimensions. Or I can use these tools, these orientation tools in this box to help me reposition that based on this new selection. So either flipping around that horizontal or vertical reference or repositioning the sketch origin. In this case, I can simply just reverse the direction of the datum plane that I'm using, and now I have that same XYZ I was using before. And now when I click OK, it repositions it on the other side of the box. Even though I'm looking through this side, I've switched that plane normal to be kind of pointing into the box instead of away from the box. But that's okay because that's the orientation and dimensions that I want to use to locate that object. So now that I've repositioned that, I can click Finish, and it will be on the other side. Like I said, I repositioned that sketch normal, and so I can jump into my extrude in this case and then specify a new vector, say the opposite direction that I was using before. And so it just makes it easier to reuse some of those features that I've set up, but they happen to be referencing the incorrect objects, or I don't have my sketch plane on the correct datum plane. So now that my sketch feature is in the correct location because of Reattach Sketch, I can continue on with my design tasks.